Okay, so we got the opener for series... The heck is that? Opener for series 6. Let's get going. The Impossible Astronaut and the Day of the Moon. So, we open Series 6 with a two-parter, a bold start for a Doctor Who series. The show hasn't opened with a two-parter prior to this, so that's a bold statement. And given the nature of this story, this two-parter, it's a pretty bold two-parter as well. Now, I've always enjoyed this one, but I have not rewatched it in a while. And rewatching it now, I think once I wrap up Smith's run, I may have to devote a video to sorting out how much or how little sense some of the overarching stories actually end up being. Specifically when it comes to the silence, which frustrates me because I actually really like the silence for a number of reasons. I'll come back to that in a minute. But I'm not going to dwell on this here because, like I said, I'm working off of memory until I finish the rewatch. So, but watching this now, there's a lot of stuff I'm like, does that ever get explained? Do we ever find out about that? They're really setting up for something that, if it has an answer, I don't remember it. And if it does, I'm sure it comes way late. So, there's a lot of that going on. But that's not something I am going to hold against this particular story, at least not in this review, because I'm dealing with the thing basically as I saw it at the time, which is taking it as its own and as an opener here. Now, that doesn't mean I'm not going to take into account anything that happens later, just that I'm not fresh enough on it to know how well or badly everything actually holds together, big scale. So we have the very fun opening of the Doctor trying to get the Pawn's attention by basically being annoying enough to be written into the history books at several points. Collects them and River. They go on a picnic, seems kind of innocuous, and then an astronaut comes out of the lake and kills the Doctor. And then goes back into the lake. And then the Doctor shows up again. This one younger than the one they just saw die. They can't tell him what's going on, but they know they need his help. Suddenly they're back in 1969. They're working with Nixon. They uncover the silence. And then Day of the Moon is very much dealing with how the heck do we combat something we can't even remember. So there's a lot going on in this two-parter. We've got a ton of story, a ton of concepts, a ton of craziness. And I can definitely see where, or at least thinking back, the fact that there was a week between these two episodes probably did them some favors, because watching them back to back, it's an odd transition because the first one ends with Amy appearing to shoot the astronaut, which is this little girl that they don't know who it is. And then the next one opens and Canton, who we had met the previous episode and appeared to be prepared to help the Doctor and the others, is now hunting them down and hunting the companions down and killing them. And the Doctor is captured. Now, that's a jarring transition from one to the next. And the downtime in between probably helped a bit. Doing them back-to-back, it doesn't no favors. But it really does, especially in hindsight, feel like a super convoluted plan. And I'm not entirely sure why it required the faking of deaths for Amy, Rory, and River. That said, for how convoluted the plan appears to be, if they were going to do this, it probably was a better idea to basically just jump in the middle of the plan rather than watch every step up to this point, because then it will probably make even less sense. So, I mentioned the silence earlier on. Let's examine the silence. First off, I love the design of the silence. Love it. I've gotten a sketch of them commissioned at cons. I love the look of them. That's a like tiny nitpick. I don't love that when the camera gets right up there, in kind of the hollow, there is an actual eye. There's an actual sort of iris, hidden up in the shadows of there. And I wish there wasn't. I wish that it was just this hollow, or not quite hollow, but like this pit where eyes should be. I would have preferred that. I almost said I don't think they need the lightning powers. I think it's fine that they have the lightning powers. I think the way in which those got debuted was ill-advised. I think that debuting those with them killing this random woman in a bathroom for no reason that I can figure out at all. They just do it. Like, there's no reason that scene couldn't have played out that the woman just leaves the bathroom and Amy's there stunned and the interaction with the thing is otherwise largely unaltered. And then the debut of the fact that they have lightning powers could have come at the climax when they all have to escape the ship and suddenly these things start firing lightning out of their hands, and it could have been a real big, whoa! I didn't know they could do that moment in the heat of battle, as opposed to having that dropped earlier on in a slower, creepier moment, and it kind of actually diffuses the tension a little bit. Because at that early point, we really shouldn't have enough of a sense of what they're on about. And we really don't as far as a plan or their intentions or anything go, but just the fact that we suddenly now know one of the major strings to their bow that early on. I don't think that was a good call as far as overall structure goes. But I've always loved both the design and the concept of the silence. I find the idea of this thing that you forget as soon as you're not looking at it to be very scary. And even though functionally its gimmick is very similar to the Weeping Angels, being the practical upshot of all this is you can't look away from it, because if you do, then it can kill you. Then it will kill you. There's a couple of differences. The first is you're also not safe while looking at it, because the silence is still perfectly capable of killing you. It's just when you turn away, you won't remember that you were in danger in the first place. And then it is that other thing. It is the messing with the head. Because for me, the scariest stuff is mental screwing with you. Like, things that make me tense are paranoia films. I say over and over and over again, scariest movie I've ever seen is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the 1978 version. Because it messes with your head and who you can trust and who anybody can trust. And anything that brings into question your perceptions of the world itself, when done well, that scares me a heck of a lot more than living statues. Something messing with your mind scares me. Mental illness scares me. Not like people with mental illness scare me, but like what can happen to a mind scares me. Dementia scares me. So, something like this that can just edit itself out of your brain. And we see like kind of the ultimate upshot of that with the poor guy who runs the orphanage. Holy crap. Yeah. No, I find that pretty scary. I also think the resolution on this is genuinely clever resolution. This is one of those instances where I kind of got to go, Moffat, I think you were actually as clever as you believed yourself to be, as far as this resolution goes. As far as inserting, you should kill us all on sight, into the moon landing, because I buy it when he says every human being will at some point see this, because I think it's kind of true up to this point, and it makes sense to me that as a piece of history, even with the species going forward, that something like that would basically be a ubiquitous viewing experience. And then the idea that the humans fight them off without even remembering that they did it, that's great. That's awesome. I love that entire resolution and that whole concept. I think it's really, really cool. The Richard Nixon thing is kind of funny. I wondered going back, like, did they overhumanize him? Not that, I want to paint Richard Nixon as like history's greatest monster. He wasn't, but he was more than just a mildly flawed politician. The man, the man was a scuzzball. And I liked that they had all this going on at the start of his administration. I think that helped a little bit. And none of the stuff that they did or brought him in for, even, when it was kind of fun, none of it in any way negates the stuff that he would do while in office. None of it is counteractive or in any way undercuts the kinds of things the man would go on to do. So I don't think it runs afoul of the putting a pleasant face on an unpleasant person trope. Not badly, not bad enough to clock it on my radar at the very least. Trying to think what else I wanted to bring up. Canton's great. That actor is very good. And, the regular cast, they're all great. The little girl who, just on the off chance that people are watching these reviews, I do kind of do these reviews assuming you've at least seen the episodes that I'm talking about, but just in case anyone's watching it for the first time and keeping up with me. The little girl, the twist at the end was an interesting twist. And I'm going to be keeping an eye out for down the line. How did she die? And I'm asking that very sincerely because it gets established in the second part that Amy missed when she shot at her. So when, spoilers, this little girl regenerates at the end of the episode, it's not from the gunshot that Amy did. And I'm going to keep an eye out for later episodes to see if this ever gets answered, but I do not remember there being an answer to why did she regenerate? And it's not even necessarily the kinds of things that I definitely need an answer to, but you drew my attention to it. And I kind of feel like I should know that. I mean, was it just from escaping the silence? I suppose that just feels, I don't know, a little weak. But it's little things like that sort of come back to what I mentioned at the front end. How well does this all hang together when taken within the scope of the series and Smith's era as a whole? I don't know yet. And there are nitpicky things, but the actors are all doing really good. I like the concepts. I love the design of the silence. I love the resolution on this. Like, I will always call out Moffat when he's being less clever than he thinks he is, but I'll also give the man the praise when he nails it. And with that resolution, at least, I think he nailed it. But, yeah, this is going to be an interesting season for me to keep an eye on as we go along. Series 6 premiere, Impossible Astronaut, Day of the Moon. You rewatched it lately? What are your thoughts on it? Whatever they are, or drop something down in the comments. Let's talk about it. Other stuff you can do as well. If you wish to support this channel through Patreon, that would be immensely helpful. Even if you don't, you can always like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share this video. It helps grow the channel and appeases the algorithm. So there's all that stuff that you can do, plus links to other stuff besides down in the description, but you also don't have to, because at the end of the day, folks, you're the council. I'm just running this meeting, and until next time, this council is adjourned.